Hi, my name is Shobon. Some of you guys know me as No Shed, and this is my Spurs video podcast. And I want to be talking about Spurs QPR tomorrow. It's a big game, London derby, and we can use every cliche in the book. Form goes out the window, etc. I think they'll be motivated, extra motivated. If not the players, then definitely the fans. There's something interesting about QPR there's a common thread. They have some good players, but all of them have good players who think they're better than they actually are, and who were destined to have bright, glittering futures ahead of them. And let's face it, they've done well, and they're Premiership players, but they're not Premiership players at the clubs you thought they would be Premiership players at. They're not at the big clubs, so to speak. That being said, I'm not going to take anything away from QPR. They, finally got up there. They're not trying to buy their way, into success. Even though they've got like the UK richest man owning them. So yeah, and in midfield wise, Barton, Phillips, Phillips, sorry, and they got some quality there. Tarabt, who I think will be rather motivated to play against us. So that's what we're missing out on, which he can either be a good thing or a bad thing, depending how he plays so much for himself that he doesn't really think about actually for his team. Or he can play so brilliantly, we'll be thinking, why do we let him go? A la Kevin Prince Boateng. That being said, and there seems to be a lot of confidence. Very, very good reason. QPR have had trouble scoring, and that's pretty much standard for most teams that come up from the Championship. They're either very good at scoring, or they're very poor defensively, or they're great defensively, not that great at scoring. There's a reason why they were in the Championship. They've come up, and let's face it, you're a new promoted side. It's hard for you to attract even a team as wealthy as QPR. The backers are anyway. It's going to be hard for them to really attract those players, because you're thinking, well, if I join a new promoted side, chances are my team will be relegated. The fates relegation. That being said, I think we can win. Although I've heard some outrageous scores like 4-0. 4-1 and all this, and I'm like, that I'm not hating from QPR. I mean, this is the kind of game that we should have won, but Blackpool's a game we should have won. West Brom was a game we should have won last season. I think we're better than we were last season. The additions of Adebayor, Friedel, and especially Parker have helped us to do that, but I'm still going to go with, I think, 2-0 to us. I'm going for Rafa and Adebayor to score. I think everyone's saying Adebayor has been a bit lazy. I think, let's face it, he helped set up the first goal against Blackburn last week. And that Blackburn game, they were just, that was a tough old game. They were physical, and, oh man, they were just, they're like, you could see the Allardyce fingerprints all over their playing style. Hopefully, I think Kabul and Basson will be a lot more settled. And if you're a lot more settled at the back, especially because of QPR's a real lack of threat. And Helgeson's not a bad player, but he's not a brilliant player. Hopefully that gives us, I wouldn't say license, but gives a bit more freedom for us to attack. We can focus more on attacking and causing them problems. They've got some good players, and Paddy Kenny's a very good goalkeeper. He had to be. I mean, if you look at that QPR game, QPR Chelsea game, he kept, he did pretty, he had to do pretty much quite a bit to keep him in the side, keep him in the game, because they were poor. They played a 9-man Chelsea. I mean, let's face it, Chelsea down 10 men on 9 men are stronger than most. They're stronger than half. Like I'd say, the second, the bottom half of the Premier League. That's just how good Chelsea, your Man City, your Man United are. But I'm not saying we're up there yet, but I still think 11 against 11. I think we can cause some problems. So my team, it's pretty much unchanged, really. I'm hoping Lennon will regain some form, because they really look to attack his left back and really cause him problems, and hopefully start being the player he was. Same for Bale. Hopefully he can refine his purple patch. And I hope obviously you got Parker and Modric. Parker, I think we only have one defensive midfielder, and I think Parker will be great, and he'll obviously, Tara will not get as much of the ball, just literally because of how tightly Parker will have shackled him. Modric will just be, playing the strings, and they're there. Is it Forlan, for Colin, I can't pronounce his name, and he is an enforcer for them. But I think Luka Modric will just be a bit too smart for him, and he'll be like the ghost. He'll drop, and the guy's not terrible, but he will lose track of him, and suddenly, bam, Modric will have set that pass in motion or whatever, start pulling the strings for us. And even if you stay occupied on, say, Luka Modric, well, you've got Gareth Bale and Aaron Lennon on either wing, and as good as Wright Phillips is, and as good as Barton is, and Barton will get his foot stuck in. He is. I wouldn't say I don't want to use the C word, but he's not afraid to put a tackle in. Wright Phillips won't track back as much. I think we can utilise that. So yeah, I'm gonna go with 2-0 to us, and I'll ask you kindly to guys to please click on the ad links and make me a few tuppence. Big shout out to all the usual guys, Spurs Forum.co.uk, Spurs Odyssey, run by a really hard guy called Paul Smith. Some good guys on there. To give a shout out to Debs, Mike, and Peter Stucky. He's actually coming from Germany. He's a German fan, loves us, and he comes all the way from Germany to watch us play. Shout out to him. Shout out to Carter's Free Captain. They do a good podcast called Wheel Bit of Radio, and Top Spurs and Come On You Spurs. And I think it was not a bad shout out to Vital Football. They have the Spurs page, and usually they do this thing where people compete, so they can write the word first. The first comment on that, I don't know what that's about, but yeah. And Come On You Spurs, apparently they wanted a shout out, so you're getting one. So please click on the ad links, and come on you Spurs.